You get 6 questions. 6. That's what the leader of the opposition gets at Prime Minister's questions every week. 6 opportunities to hold the government to account, land a blow, and to demonstrate that you are a credible alternative Prime Minister in the waiting. Kemi Badenoch used all of her 6 questions this week to ask about fuel duty rise that the Prime Minister had already told her wasn't happening. Not once, not twice, but 6 times. He told her it was frozen 6 times, and she still kept going. So yeah, let's talk about what's happening with the Conservative Party. But before we get into the fuel duty loop, because we absolutely need to spend some time on that, we're going to start with the week that led up to it. Because PMQs didn't happen in a vacuum, and what happened before, it tells you everything you need to know about the state of Kemi Badenoch's in. When the US and Israel launched strikes on Iran, Badenoch had a clear position. She was unambiguous. Her shadow foreign secretary said that the strikes were absolutely right and it was a position of the Conservative Party supported. She went to the Commons and she said this.
Is not enough. He says that we are pre-deploying. The one ship which we are sending, HMS Dragon, is still in Portsmouth. The fact is the Type 45s cannot take out incoming missiles. This is not enough. He's read out a long list. The people who understand know it is not enough. He should be doing more. Yesterday, the Chancellor could have given more money to defence. Instead, I don't know why they're laughing. I don't know why that's funny. Yes, not funny. Yesterday, the Chancellor could have given more money to defence. Instead, she gave more money for welfare. Iran is trying to kill our servicemen and women. He is catching arrows rather than stopping the archer. That's what we're talking about. Why is he asking our allies to do what we should be doing ourselves? We are, I would say to Labour MPs, we are in this war whether they like it or not. What is the Prime Minister waiting for?
So that's join the war, isn't it? That's the position. For 9 days across multiple appearances, the message was consistent. Britain should be more involved. Starmer was too slow, not doing enough, letting down our allies. Then the economic consequences of the conflict started to bite. Oil prices, markets, the reality of what join the war actually means started landing in people's bank accounts and on their petrol forecourts. And suddenly, it's this.
Mr. Speaker, then yesterday, in the wake of the economic consequences, the Leader of the Opposition totally abandoned her position. She told the BBC, I never said we should join. She told the BBC, I haven't said we should have gone in with the United States.
9 days of join the war, then I never said that. Starmer's description of what happened next was one of the more brutal things that I've seen in the dispatch box for, quite a while. Well, I mean, to her at least.
I'm not going to take lectures from someone who says we should join the war, and a week later says, can I change my mind? I got that wrong. It is deeply embarrassing. And she's not the only one. Mr. Speaker, last week she's not the only one, the leader of Reform. We should be part of this with the US and the Israelis. We have to get rid of the regime. We should do all we can to support the operation. I make that perfectly clear, he said. Until yesterday, screeching U-turn, we shouldn't get ourselves involved in another foreign war. 2 parties packed with failed Tories, led by leaders who are not fit to be Prime Minister.
But he's right. And the thing is that she knows that he's right. You can see in how she responds. She doesn't defend her position, she doesn't argue with the facts, she just pivots immediately to fuel duty, which brings us to the main event. Now, the spring statement was delivered on March the 3rd, 4 days into the Iran conflict. It had been commissioned in January. The OBR acknowledged in the document itself that the forecast couldn't account for the war that had started 3 days before the statement was due to be delivered. Badenoch's attack line is that the Chancellor failed to address the fuel price shocks in the statement and that fuel duty was being hiked. There's just one small problem with this. Fuel duty is frozen.
Mr. Speaker, fuel duty is frozen. It's going to remain frozen until September, and we will keep the situation under review in light of what's happening in Iran.
Right, so that's the answer. It's frozen. Under review, given what's happening in Iran. Pretty clear. Here's Kemi's next question.
So can he explain how a rise in fuel duty helps with the cost of living?
He just did. It's frozen. But okay, here's Starmer again.
There hasn't been a rise. It is frozen. There isn't going. It is frozen until September.
Frozen. Still frozen. Same answer. Next question.
How does the Prime Minister justify a rise in fuel duty to that small business owner and millions more like him up and down the country?
I want you to understand that what you're watching here, the Prime Minister has now told her twice on record in the House of Commons that the fuel duty is not rising. She has the same information he does. She's standing at the dispatch box, she knows, and she asks again. By question 5, she's brought in farmers. By question 6, she's telling him the Conservatives have froze fuel duty every year since 2011. Which is true, they did. They've also presided over the Rwanda scheme, 14 years of defence cuts, and Liz Truss. So let's not get distracted.
There hasn't been a rise.
Yep, still frozen. Okay, so let's just be fair here. There is a legitimate point buried somewhere in this. The spring statement couldn't address oil price shocks from a war that started 3 days before because it was just being delivered, and that is true. The fuel costs generally are hitting people in rural areas who depend on their cars. Those are real concerns. But Kemi Badenoch is not making a real argument. She's repeating the line because the line tested well somewhere, because it sounded like something a government might do, and because, well, she's got nothing else. The Iran U-turn blew up her foreign policy credibility in the space of a week. The Mandelson story isn't the cleanest kill that she wanted, so she fell back on a fuel duty just to keep going, hoping repetition would do what the evidence couldn't. And Starmer just put it simply enough at the end.
She has utterly disqualified herself from ever becoming Prime Minister. Thankfully, she never will.
In the interview that she gave after PMQ'S, Badenoch said that Starmer should resign. She said it multiple times this week, and she believes that he's unfit to govern. She thinks Labour MPs should consider their conscience.
Well, I think that Keir Starmer is a man who is in office but not in power. He is held hostage by his backbenchers, and they can see right now that as much as the Prime Minister wanted to make this about Peter Mandelson, this is really about Keir Starmer being dishonest with them, with the country, with Parliament about what he knew. There are not enough Conservative MPs to remove the Prime Minister. He won a landslide. I think Labour MPs now need to consider their conscience and their position and ask if this man is fit to run our country.
So is this a resigning matter?
Well, I think that it is, but we can't make him resign.
But presumably your message to him is
yes,
you need to resign.
The only people who can fix this are Labour backbenchers. They can see that Keir Starmer has lied repeatedly about what he knew and when. He's tried to make this all about Peter Mandelson. This is about his judgment, and they should consider whether this is someone who is fit to run our country. He did it again at PMQ'S today. He says things that are simply not true to try to get himself out of a hole. All of this mess is of his own making.
Here's what she's not done. She's not tabled a vote of no confidence. The mechanisms exist. She could do it tomorrow. She won't because she knows that she'll lose, because he won a landslide, and because a failed no confidence vote would make her look even weaker than she already does this week. So instead she goes on television and calls him unfit, and she goes to PMQ'S and asks the same 6 question, then goes on BBC and says that she never supported joining a war that she very clearly supported joining. It's not opposition, this is just all performance. And the gap between how opposition is supposed to work and what's actually happening in the chamber right now is, I think, one of the most important stories in British politics that nobody's really talking about loudly enough. The country is navigating an active conflict in the Middle East, an economic shock, a cost of living squeeze, and the leader of the opposition spent her 6 questions on a tax rise that doesn't exist.